What is your favorite section of Chicago to explore in the game?
Yeah, we've got a big Chicago. I think my favorite section to explore is probably Mad Mile. We call it Mad Mile in our game. It's actually Mag Mile in Chicago, but it's in our game it's called Mad Mile. And I think that's probably the most my favorite area to explore. I spent a lot of time in that area, and it's reflective of it's very reflective of the actual Chicago. You know, there's a lot of familiar landmarks, and it feels. I like the feel of it as you drive through the areas along the coast. It's quite nice.
What advice would you give to someone who's exploring the city, since there's so much to do?
My advice to anybody exploring the city is absolutely test the limits of the city. You know, hack away, just try and push the boundaries of what you can do. I'm really curious to see what it's going to be like when it gets in fans' hands. I know what hacks I would like to do and how I like to combine hacks and different strategies I use, but fans will be coming at it fresh, and I think they'll have a unique perspective, and so I look forward to the YouTube videos.
Speaking of that, today, if you've been walking around, have you noticed anyone doing anything new with the game that you didn't expect, or are people surprising you with how they're playing the game right now?
So far, and the people I've been watching, they're just getting a feel for it. So I think they're still testing out the boundaries. I've been watching people hacking other players, and that's been fun to watch because they're quite direct in their strategy. They run right up to the person they've hacked, and it doesn't take long for the other hacker to find them. So I think once they realize they need to hide a bit more, it might work better for them.
Speaking of the multiplayer, is there any? Does it affect your single player campaign in any way, or is it kind of treated as a separate entity in the campaign?
It's treated as a separate entity, but what we've done is we've wrapped it up. We want to make sure that it fits within the global narrative, which is, you know, there's fixers in our world, in the single player and the multiplayer, and these fixers are basically hired mercenaries, work for a paycheck. And Pierce has to deal with them in the game. They start getting contracts for Pierce once Pierce becomes a problem in Chicago, so he has to deal with them. So for the multiplayer, players end up becoming fixers, and you're allowed to accept fixer contracts to take out other players. Now, from a player perspective, it's cool because it looks like a fixer has come after you, much like in the single player. In fact, it's another player coming at you. So in that sense, we've done a soft merge of the single and the multiplayer, but there's no hard narrative that drives the multiplayer. But yeah, it fits within the world.
Now, I know the main map is Chicago, but how big is the map? Like, how big is this game really?
It's big, you know. Like, it's big in the sense it's a dense game, right? It's not a map that, you know, you're going to be able to hop in a plane and fly from one end to the other. You know, that's the only reason we might want to have a big map, and so we don't have any planes or anything like that in Watch Dogs. But it's a dense game. You know, the opportunities in the game are endless. Like I said, the way you can hack people, the opportunities that come from hacking people. Sometimes it's just money, sometimes it's a song, sometimes it's a new mission opportunity that appears. You can hack into buildings and peer into people's lives, and there's countless opportunities for that all over. So I think players are going to be pretty busy with the world we've given them.